What if the stories you learned in history class were deliberately buried? Colonial archives worldwide contain millions of documents, but traditional historians could only examine a fraction. Now, artificial intelligence is scanning entire collections, revealing systematic patterns of suppression that human researchers missed for centuries. These digital archaeologists are uncovering truths that powerful institutions wanted forgotten. Machine learning algorithms excel at pattern recognition across vast datasets. When applied to colonial records, they identify suspicious gaps, recurring censorship marks, and deliberately omitted information. One algorithm discovered that British colonial administrators systematically removed references to local resistance movements from official reports, creating an illusion of peaceful occupation that historians accepted as fact. Natural language processing tools can reconstruct fragmented indigenous languages from scattered colonial translations. These AI systems compare linguistic patterns across thousands of documents, piecing together vocabulary, grammar structures, and cultural concepts that colonizers attempted to erase. The technology has already recovered 3 previously extinct dialects from the Americas, giving descendant communities access to their ancestral languages. Computer vision analyzes damaged manuscripts that human eyes cannot decipher. Burned pages, water damage, and deliberate destruction previously made documents unreadable. Neural networks trained on historical handwriting can reconstruct missing text by analyzing ink patterns, paper fibers, and even indentations left on underlying pages. This technology has revealed testimonies of atrocities previously thought lost forever. Sentiment analysis reveals the emotional manipulation embedded in colonial propaganda. AI systems measure the psychological impact of language choices in official communications, identifying techniques used to dehumanize indigenous populations and justify violence. These algorithms expose how colonial administrators crafted narratives that portrayed exploitation as civilization, revealing the sophisticated propaganda machinery behind imperial expansion. Temporal analysis algorithms track how colonial narratives evolved over time, revealing deliberate historical revisionism. By comparing versions of the same events across decades, AI identifies systematic alterations made to official records. One study found that Portuguese colonial accounts of Brazilian indigenous populations became increasingly derogatory over 50 years, correlating with increased demand for slave labor. Network analysis maps the connections between colonial administrators, revealing coordination in suppressing information. AI systems identify communication patterns, shared vocabulary, and synchronize policy changes across different colonies. This research exposed a previously unknown network of British officials who coordinated the suppression of famine reports in India, prioritizing grain exports over local survival. Geographic information systems combined with AI reveal patterns of environmental destruction hidden in colonial surveys. Machine learning algorithms analyze historical maps, identifying systematic deforestation, mining operations, and agricultural changes that colonial reports minimized or omitted entirely. This research demonstrates how environmental exploitation was deliberately concealed from metropolitan governments and future historians. Cross-referencing algorithms compare colonial accounts with indigenous oral histories preserved in audio recordings. AI systems identify discrepancies between official records and traditional stories, revealing systematic distortion of historical events. These comparisons have exposed fabricated justifications for land seizures, false claims of indigenous consent, and invented threats used to rationalize military interventions against native populations. Predictive modeling identifies missing documents that should exist based on bureaucratic patterns. Colonial administrations followed strict record-keeping procedures, making gaps in documentation suspicious. AI systems flag anomalies where crucial documents are absent, suggesting deliberate destruction. These algorithms have located evidence rooms in former colonial buildings where missing archives were systematically destroyed during decolonization. Economic analysis algorithms reveal the true financial cost of colonial exploitation by reconstructing hidden accounting practices. AI systems track resource extraction, labor costs, and infrastructure investments across colonial territories. This analysis demonstrates that colonies generated far more wealth than official records claimed, with sophisticated accounting tricks concealing the true scale of resource theft from colonized populations. Demographic reconstruction uses AI to estimate populations decimated by colonial violence. Machine learning models analyze fragmentary census data, missionary records, and administrative documents to calculate population losses. These algorithms have revealed that colonial authorities systematically undercounted indigenous deaths, minimizing genocide statistics by factors of 10 or more. The true human cost of colonization exceeds previous estimates dramatically. Translation algorithms process documents in dozens of languages, revealing coordination between different colonial powers. AI systems identify shared strategies, borrowed policies, and collaborative suppression techniques used across empires. This research exposed secret agreements between European powers to suppress information about colonial rebellions, preventing news from inspiring resistance movements in other territories controlled by different empires. Medical record analysis reveals deliberate neglect and experimental abuse hidden in colonial health documents. AI systems identify patterns of medical discrimination, unauthorized experimentation, and withheld treatments. These algorithms have uncovered evidence of systematic medical racism, where colonial doctors conducted unauthorized medical experiments on indigenous populations while claiming to provide health care, documenting results while hiding the unethical nature of their research. Educational document analysis exposes systematic cultural destruction programs disguised as schooling. Machine learning algorithms identify patterns in colonial education policies, revealing coordinated efforts to eliminate indigenous knowledge systems. AI has uncovered curricula designed to induce cultural amnesia, punishment systems targeting native language use, and reward structures encouraging children to betray their cultural heritage to colonial authorities. Legal document processing reveals how colonial courts systematically denied justice to indigenous plaintiffs. AI systems analyze case outcomes, sentencing patterns, and procedural violations across thousands of colonial court records. This research demonstrates that colonial legal systems were designed to legitimize land theft and resource extraction, with courts serving as rubber stamps for predetermined outcomes favoring colonial interests. Communication analysis reveals sophisticated psychological warfare campaigns targeting colonial subjects. Natural language processing identifies propaganda techniques embedded in official communications, religious materials, and educational content. These algorithms expose coordinated efforts to induce learned helplessness, cultural shame, and psychological dependency among colonized populations, revealing colonial administration as a sophisticated system of psychological control beyond physical domination. Archaeological site documentation analysis reveals systematic destruction of pre-colonial monuments and sacred sites. Computer vision algorithms process colonial survey photographs, identifying deliberate destruction of indigenous architectural heritage. This research has documented coordinated campaigns to erase physical evidence of pre-colonial civilizations, with colonial administrators ordering the destruction of monuments that contradicted narratives of indigenous primitiveness. Resource extraction documentation reveals environmental crimes concealed from metropolitan oversight. AI systems analyze mining reports, forestry surveys, and agricultural assessments, identifying systematic underreporting of environmental damage. These algorithms have revealed that colonial administrators deliberately minimized environmental destruction in official reports while maximizing extraction, creating ecological disasters that persist centuries later in formerly colonized territories. Religious conversion documentation exposes forced Christianity campaigns disguised as voluntary spiritual transformation. Text analysis algorithms identify coercion techniques, punishment systems, and reward structures embedded in missionary reports. This research reveals systematic destruction of indigenous spiritual practices, with missionaries coordinating with colonial administrators to eliminate traditional belief systems through sophisticated psychological manipulation and material incentives. Trade documentation analysis reveals systematic economic exploitation, disguised as mutually beneficial commerce. Machine learning algorithms identify pricing manipulation, quality deception, and contract violations in colonial trade records. This research demonstrates that colonial trade was structured to ensure indigenous producers received minimal compensation for valuable resources, while colonial merchants accumulated enormous profits through deliberate market manipulation. Military campaign documentation reveals systematic war crimes concealed in official battle reports. AI systems analyze tactical reports, casualty figures, and operational procedures, identifying patterns of civilian targeting and prohibited warfare techniques. These algorithms have uncovered evidence of coordinated campaigns against non-combatants, systematic sexual violence, and deliberate targeting of cultural sites during military operations. Labor documentation analysis exposes systematic exploitation of indigenous workers through manipulated contracts and working conditions. Natural language processing identifies deceptive language in labor agreements, identifying techniques used to trap workers in exploitative situations. This research reveals sophisticated systems of debt bondage, contract manipulation, and working condition deception that maintained effective slavery under the guise of voluntary employment. Administrative correspondence analysis reveals coordination between colonial officials and metropolitan governments in suppressing information. AI systems identify coded language, synchronized messaging, and coordinated policy implementations across different administrative levels. This research demonstrates that information suppression was not local initiative, but systematic policy coordinated from imperial centers, revealing sophisticated machinery of historical manipulation. Scientific expedition documentation reveals systematic theft of indigenous knowledge presented as European discovery. Machine learning algorithms compare expedition reports with indigenous oral traditions, identifying systematic appropriation of local knowledge. This research demonstrates that many celebrated colonial scientific discoveries were actually stolen indigenous innovations rebranded as European achievements, with original creators deliberately erased from historical records. Modern implications of this research extend far beyond historical curiosity. AI uncovered evidence is being used in contemporary legal cases demanding reparations, land rights restoration, and cultural repatriation. These digital discoveries provide documented proof for claims that were previously dismissed as lacking evidence. Courts worldwide are beginning to accept AI-processed colonial archives as legitimate evidence in indigenous rights cases. The technological revolution in historical research continues accelerating. New AI models can process increasingly complex documents, reconstruct more sophisticated patterns, and identify subtler forms of suppression. As these tools become more powerful, they promise to reveal even deeper layers of hidden history. The stories our ancestors tried to bury are emerging from digital graves, demanding acknowledgement and justice.